Gosh, HIIT is like an espresso for your training. A small dose can be so fantastic, but daily shots all week will fry your system. When someone slams their calories down after the holidays, the body does exactly what it's designed to do. It defends itself. This is typically the time of year when everyone feels like they need to undo December in 1 week. They're like, I gotta get back on track. And that urgency typically leads to habits that just completely sabotage your progress. I probably got you on the title, didn't I? Welcome back to Broad's podcast. I am so glad you're here. Gosh, before we begin, can you just take a quick second to follow the show? Because if you're listening to this podcast and if you are not subscribed to the show, please, can you just do that? It helps grow the show. It helps me get to my 1,000,000 download goal. Also, you'll never miss an episode. And if you like me and if you like this podcast and you want this podcast to grow, get in there, like it, share it, follow it. Let's go. Today, we're talking about the things you should avoid if you want to lose the holiday weight in a way that actually works and does not destroy your metabolism in the process. I probably got you on that title. So let's just dive right into it. This is going to be a quickie episode because I feel like you want to hear it. So here I am. This is literally the time of year when everyone feels like they need to undo December. It's funny because I'm always like, everyone like feels so like grumpy after December. And I'm like, wouldn't it suck to have a birthday in December? And I know very many people that have one. And I'm like, it's kind of a grumpy month. But then my husband's birthday is in January and that's like a cold, grumpy month. So that's why I have a great birthday in June. Anyways, sorry about the December, January birthday, fam. You know, you can celebrate again in the summer if you want your half birthday. But this is typically the time of year when everyone feels like they need to undo December in 1 week. They're like, I gotta get back on track. And that urgency typically leads to habits that just completely sabotage your progress. So we are going to dive into those today. Women are told to eat as little as possible, do as much cardio as possible, and truly just push themselves until they burn out. So this episode is your reminder that smart, science-based habits always win over punishment. Do not do these 8 things if you want to lose your holiday weight. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm sorry in advance. I feel like I have to move around a bunch here. Can't find like the seat that I like. Once you understand the psychology behind each one, you'll see exactly why your body rebels when you try to force quick fixes. So let's just dive right into it. So number 1 is drastically restricting calories. So when someone slams their calories down after the holidays, the body does exactly what it's designed to do. It defends itself. So what truly happens is that the metabolic rate drops and your resting metabolic rate is partly driven by how much energy that your body believes it has. So severe cuts in calories signal famine, and the body responds by reducing non-essential movement. So you fidget less, you move less, lowering your thyroid output and becoming more efficient at using just fewer calories overall. So that means that fewer calories are burned all day long. This also means that cortisol will climb, and deep deficits are a stressor. Cortisol rises to help mobilize energy. So chronic high cortisol increases water retention, can break down muscle tissue for fuel, and usually makes people feel wired and tired at the same time. Also, your hunger hormone shifts. The hunger hormone rises. Leptin is the hormone that signals fullness, and energy actually drops. And these combos make you actually hungrier, less satisfied, and more likely to binge, which creates that on track, off track cycle. And so the result is, yes, the scale actually might drop quickly from week 1 to week 2 from water and glycogen, but then energy crashes, cravings spike, and adherence falls apart. So truly long term, that just makes fat loss slower and weight regain faster. Number 2, cutting out major food groups. Please don't do this. A lot of people respond to holiday eating by just cutting carbs or fats completely. And that feels, quote, clean, but the body reads it as stress. And so what happens when you cut carbs is your performance tanks, number 1, because carbs are the primary fuel for higher intensity training. So without them, lifts feel heavy, RPE skyrockets, and you cannot push hard enough to actually create a strong stimulus. Also, thyroid and sex hormones get cranky. Very low carb intake over time can reduce T3 and impact hormones like LH and FSH, especially in women who are already stressed or under eating in general. Your recovery is also going to slow down. Glycogen stores stay low, so muscles do not refill properly after training. And that means that more soreness, more fatigue, and less willingness to train again. Doesn't that sound miserable, y'all? And what happens when the fats are too low? Your fats are your raw material for hormone production, including estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So if we have chronically low fat intake, this can affect cycle quality, mood, libido, and even that flat, low energy feeling. Now, the result is that you're removing entire food groups. It's just shrinking your toolbox. Training quality drops, recovery worsens, hormones become less cooperative, and the body fights fat loss way more aggressively. So, number 3, doing more and more steady state cardio. Cardio is great for heart health. It's just not the magic bullet for fat loss that January marketing makes it appear to be. So, keep that in mind. So when cardio volume goes way up and strength training or protein are not prioritized, the body will break down muscle tissue for energy, especially in a calorie deficit. And less muscle means fewer calories burned at rest, right? The more muscle you have, the more calories you're burning at rest. And so this is also when adaptive thermogenesis kicks in. The body adapts to repetitive cardio. You become more efficient at that same run or elliptical session. So you burn fewer calories at the same pace and duration over time. Also, appetite can spike. You might be working harder and sweating more, but losing muscle, slowing your resting burn, and you're going to end up hungrier. This is a pretty inefficient way to chase fat loss. Number 4, doing HIIT every day. Gosh, HIIT is like an espresso for your training. A small dose can be so fantastic, but daily shots all week will fry your system. What happens with HIIT all the time is your nervous system is at overload. HIIT, high intensity interval training, pushes the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. And if you hit that system daily without a deload, you stay in revved, wired state. And your sleep quality dips and your mood gets edgy and your recovery just ends up tanking. High intensity intervals spike cortisol, which is fine in short bursts. Daily spikes without enough recovery keep cortisol chronically elevated. And this can encourage more abdominal fat storage and create cravings for quick energy foods, which is obviously what you're trying not to do. True HIIT means working near max effort. And so if your body is getting that all the time, it just cannot sustain that 7 days a week. Intensity quietly drops, rest periods creep up, and sessions become medium hard cardio disguised as HIIT. So with all the stress and less of the benefit, HIIT will lose its magic, the body stays stressed, and the fat loss slows because the system is overtaxed. 1 to 2 solid HIIT sessions a week paired with strength and recovery work far better than 7 watered down ones. Number 5, skipping strength training in January. Oh, this one is massive. It makes me so sad. Muscle is the tissue that helps you burn more calories at rest, handle carbs better, and look toned instead of looking smaller. And what happens when your strength gets skipped is your muscle loss accelerates in a deficit. If you are in a calorie deficit, the body has to decide what tissue to keep. So without heavy enough resistance, it has no reason to hold on to muscle. So it breaks down muscle for fuel along with fat. This is also when metabolism can slow. Muscle is metabolically active, and so if you lose it, your total daily energy expenditure drops. That means the same calorie intake that once created the deficit may not even work anymore. This is also when your body composition could shift in the wrong direction. The scale can go down while the body fat percentage goes up. And that quote, skinny fat outcome, smaller, softer, weaker, and less resilient is what you'll lean more into. And so if you're skipping strength, this again might give you that fast scale drop, but it quietly trades muscle for lower burn and a physique that feels less strong and less capable. Strength training protects your engine while fat comes off. Number 6, eating too little protein. Protein is the unsung hero of any sane fat loss phase. And what happens when the protein is low, muscle repair is compromised. Strength training creates those micro tears in the muscle fibers, and protein supplies the amino acids needed to rebuild those fibers. And so without enough, the body cannot repair optimally and may break down more muscle over time. Muscle protein synthesis is blunted, and there is a threshold of protein needed per meal to stimulate muscle building and repair, which is roughly 20 to 30 grams for most women, depending on size. If we're constantly falling under that, it keeps you in a less anabolic and more catabolic state. Also, when you're not having enough protein, your hunger and cravings increase. Protein helps stabilize blood sugar and keeps you fuller longer. So if you have low protein diets, often lead to more snacking, more sugar cravings, and that constant never quite satisfied enough. Maybe you can feel that. I'm sure you've had that before. So the result is that the body loses more muscle and the appetite kind of feels out of control. Adherence becomes way harder. So hitting a protein target supports satiety, preserves muscle mass, and makes the deficit just smoother. Number 7 is training 7 days a week. Recovery is truly where the magic happens, and training is just the stimulus. If you are never taking a day off, you are just going to be fatigued way more often. Your nervous system, connective tissue, and muscles accumulate stress. And so without rest, that stress slacks. That also means performance drops, form breaks down, and injury risk is up there. This is also kind of true about the hormonal impact too. Chronic training without true off days can lower sex hormones and thyroid function and keep cortisol elevated. So that combo will absolutely slow fat loss and drains motivation and libido. This is also how your sleep and mood will suffer. Overtraining often shows up as trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking rested. Mood swings, irritability, and lack of excitement to train are just early signs of this. So the results of no recovery days are energy and performance slide downward even when the effort potentially goes up. Maybe your fat loss stalls. And really, truly, strategic rest gives the body space to adapt and respond to all that hard work. Number 8, weighing yourself every day and chasing the number. The number on the scale reflects many things besides fat: water, glycogen, sodium intake, hormones, digestion, stress, sleep. Oh my God, there's so many things. When you're chasing that daily emotional scale, you are just constantly stressed and you're making reactive decisions. People sometimes see the scale move up a pound and completely cut calories, add cardio, skip meals. And those reactive changes are all the ones I've already mentioned. They can totally confuse the body and make trends actually harder to interpret and to see if what you're doing is actually working. Also, that negative emotional reaction to the scale fluctuation can spike stress hormones. And if we know hormones, right, higher cortisol increases water retention, which can also raise the scale weight further and create even more frustration and confusion and annoyance, for a lack of a better term. This can also be a loss of focus on the behavior. And instead of, did I actually follow my plan, to what does the scale say today? And that pulls away the attention from real drivers of the result, like training quality, sleep, and food choices. So typically what happens is the scale ends up controlling behavior instead of behavior shaping the scale trend. And fat loss progress is slower because the plan keeps getting adjusted based on random morning fluctuations instead of solid weekly trends. All right, so let's do a quick recap of the 8 things you should avoid if you want real fat loss results in 2026. Number 1, drastically restricting calories. Number 2, cutting out major food groups. Number 3, doing more steady state cardio. Number 4, doing HIIT training every day. Number 5, skipping strength training. Number 6, eating too little protein. Number 7, training 7 days a week. And number 8, adjusting your calories based on daily scale weight. As we move into the new year, I can't believe it's already been a year. Remember that your body responds best to patience, fueling, strength, and recovery. Fat loss is not created through extremes, and you know that. You truly know that, but I'm going to say it again. It is created through stability. When you avoid these mistakes, your results become easier, more predictable, and far more enjoyable and long-lasting. So if this episode gave you clarity, motivation, or maybe a few light bulb moments, please follow the show, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Leave a rating and a review. Share it with a friend who's ready to train smarter this year. And I always love these so much. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I will see you in the next one, but please know that I am always here for you. I'm in my DMs on Instagram. You can send me an email. Let's chat. I would love to hear from you. And I appreciate you so much this year in 2025. This has been the best year for the podcast. That's for sure. It's been a year. It's definitely been a year, but it's been a fun one for the podcast.